Roll call?
Neal. Here. Carlson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Zittergrun.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council on something other than what's on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Minutes of the June 21, 2021 meeting. Item B, claims. Item C, amended fiscal 22 lease agreement with the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office.
Not really hearing the conversation in the room.
I don't know how to talk louder. I guess I can. Item D, Resolution 3200, setting August 2nd, 2021 at 5:45 p.m. as the date and time for a public hearing to amend Chapter 17.52.020 of the Decorah City Code relating to loading and parking space requirements. Item E, renewal Class E liquor license for Casey's General Store, 401 College Drive, including Class B wine, Class B beer, and Sunday sales privileges. Item F, new Class C beer permit for Nordic Fest, including outdoor service area. Item G, Resolution 3201, setting August 2nd, 5:45 p.m. as the date and time for a public hearing regarding Ordinance 1278 rental permit exceptions. Item H, Resolution 3202, setting August 2nd, 5:45 p.m. as the date and time for a public hearing for the 2021 street improvement project, asphalt street improvement project. Item I, Resolution 3203, proposing to vacate storm sewer and utility easement in Lot 3 of 8 in Riverwalk, 2nd edition, and setting August 16th, 5:45 p.m. as the date and time for a public hearing.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Chisel, second by Carlson. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chisel. Carlson.
Aye.
Neal. Aye. Luce.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Hadley. Johnson.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Conduct public hearing on a request for rezoning of property. Arlen Dalen and Helen Wise, co-executors of the estate of Arnold G. Dalen and Alan J. Dalen and Patricia J. Dalen for land along Old Stage Road and in Section 23 Township 98 North, Range 8 west of the 5th PM, all within the city of Decorah, Winnebago County, Iowa parcels from F1 floodplain to C4 shopping center commercial. Can you get some background on that, please?
Okay, we'll note that Councilperson Zittergrun.
Very good.
Okay, I think we've all talked about this a lot. What I would like to go through this evening for your information is numerous factors, or 16 of them here, factors for rezoning request. And so I will just read through them. And if anyone has any questions regarding any of them or wants to make a statement regarding any of them, maybe we can start the discussions there. This all has to do with the rezoning of that property for the Dalens and is contingent upon the
And that-
conditional rezoning agreement.
That is from the planning and zoning has those, correct?
This is from the planning and zoning.
I
meeting.
got that. And is it just John and would she read that now during this part?
I was going to suggest maybe we have the public hearing and comments, because
Okay.
these factors are actually
Okay.
for the city council to consider as part of the rezoning. So whether you do it after you hear from the public now, or when you actually consider the ordinance, and maybe
Okay.
when you consider the ordinance, that would be.
Okay,
No, I appreciate
Okay.
that.
perfect.
That being said, I'll open the public hearing. For those who wish to speak, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address. And you may have to adjust the microphone so that people at home can hear you.
Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tim Wagner. I live at 505 Franklin Street, and I'll quickly say, my first public meeting since we've gotten through the whole pandemic. It's nice to be here, and welcome to our new city clerk. So anyway, for the record, for this rezone, I will state that I'm opposed to this rezone for the likelihood that it seems to be setting the stage for some kind of massive commercial development with acres of asphalt that will ultimately send a lot of water directly into the river instead of the soil column and underground or water storage, the way nature kind of intended things. But of course, that's a conversation that's already been discussed many times over. With that said, I will say, if a majority of the council is compelled to approve such an agreement, I would hope that, and from what I've read on the proposed agreement, I would hope that the required riparian buffer be as close to that 16 acres as possible, but that it also be required to be permanent. So the owner can't, in the future, or a future owner of the property can't eliminate that buffer. And after a certain time frame, and which sometimes we see with those kinds of easements. And along with that, I would also hope that we could find a permanent designation so it could also be maintained for public access. The need for river protection will continue to grow in this community and throughout this region of the state, not diminish. In addition, the need for more outdoor recreation areas and access, as we see Decorah becomes more and more discovered, is also going to increase. So the various programs for such a designation to happen already exist in various ways. So the landowner and the public can both derive some benefit from such a transaction. So I guess I would summarize by saying it seems that at a higher level, there seems to be a middle ground here that I believe is achievable, could appease all parties, I would hope. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else wishing to speak to the council during this public hearing? Hi.
Good evening. I live at 706 East Water Street, unit number 4. Previously, for 27 years, I
Oh,
lived
can
in,
you say your name too, please?
Ardith Allen.
Thank you.
Yes. Previously, a 27-year resident of Freeport. Would still be if it wasn't for the flooding. I lived through 2 in 2008 and 2016. Physically, financially, and emotionally, I couldn't do it again. So what choice did I have? So I left. And of course, you take financially, when you get flooded, you pay for it. And when you sell your home, because it's in Freeport now, you pay for it. I don't know how many people have listened to the flood resilience study that was presented to the Decorah Sustainability Commission back in November 18th of 2020. I've listened to it 3 times. And it is lengthy, I'll give you that, but it's important. The Woodwell Climate Center from Boston presented this, and they're well known and well respected. I'm going to give you some of the statements that I came across from Dom and Dave. Freeport is of great concern, yes indeed. Zoning affects so many people. This should help folks make better choices forward. Significant flood risk is going to happen in Freeport. It's a major area for flooding. Making design choices so that it can be an area so the flooding waters can flow. We need to have more of that, not less. There was a Molly that asked Dom that she noticed on one of his maps the deep red color on the map north of Walmart. She asked if in the future raising that land would increase the flooding slash water in Freeport? He said, yes, it would increase it. These are experts. And I think for many reasons, we need to take and think about the choices we make. That has been a floodplain. In '93, Freeport flooded significantly, but none of the homes did. Walmart didn't exist. Gunderson didn't exist. We were told that within 5 to 10 years, we would flood, and we did once they were there, and they brought in all their fill. If you remember the old drive-in, it was down low. Water always filled it. It was never a problem. I know you wonder why I'd still be here, but I still have part of my heart in Freeport, and I care about those people. Please make a decision based on what we think is best for the whole community, because your decision does affect a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dennis Peterson. I live at 209 North Street. Lovely part of town. Normally, I'm not a great speaker, but I try to take pride in listening. And I have listened lately, and I've heard people talk that there are a lot of people who want to move back into town, family members. There's a lot of people who would love to move back to Decorah. We do need development. Plus, I hear a lot of people talk about we need jobs in Decorah. We need businesses to hire family or friends that wish to join us in this community. I have also heard we need revenue. That to continue building what needs to be done in Decorah, we need revenue. And that means bringing businesses in that can raise that revenue. As for myself, it really wouldn't make one difference or another, although, gee whiz, I can't complain, but I have a family member I would like to come to Decorah. So it would be nice. But it's just, very few communities suffer from the problem we have here in Decorah. Everyone wants to come here. And everyone wants to do business here. And everyone wants to work here. And basically, the biggest problem we got to solve is say yes. Is really about the only hurdle we have. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution 3164, approving a conditional rezoning agreement for land along Old Stage Road and in Section 23, Township 98 North, Range 8 West of the 5th PM, all within the city of Decorah, Winnebago County, Iowa.
Okay, I think I'm going to have John go over
Okay.
this conditional rezoning agreement for you.
Okay, this is the draft we discussed at the council meeting in early June. It includes the additions that were added since the February 2021 meeting, which is the riparian buffer to mitigate the risk of increased floods. And with the and that applies to the land that is approximately 17 acres that's marked on the map. And the terms of that riparian buffer are set forth in paragraph 1, subparagraph A, little Roman numeral 1 through 4. And these would be a covenant running with the land, but for 15 years from the date of enrollment in the CRP program. And then in addition to that, just to remind you, the other terms of the conditional rezoning agreement, this was put together to try to come up with a mutually agreeable understanding of the process for rezoning, since there's a lot of different moving parts in here. And one of the primary issues that needs to be looked at is, in order for it to actually be rezoned, is a fill permit has to be approved by the Board of Adjustment. So there's always the question, should the applicant go to the Board of Adjustment first or go to the Planning and Zoning and the City Council? And to be clear, the City Council, if it wants to agree to the rezoning, it has to be subject to that fill permit, because the only way land that's in the floodplain can be taken out of the F1 flood zone is for the elevation to actually be raised, because the F1 flood zone is defined by the elevation. But approving that fill permit is outside of the jurisdiction of the City Council. That's with the Board of Adjustment. So that's why this agreement sets forth that process for rezoning. And there's a timeline in there for the applicant to actually obtain that fill permit. And then it actually still has to be filled for it to be rezoned. And if the council were to approve the rezoning, but the fill permit was granted, but then the fill wasn't actually put in for whatever reason, then the process may have to start over, just so everybody's clear about that. But that's why we put this in writing, because there's a lot of different moving parts and trying to condense it into one agreement. And the applicants have signed the agreement. And just so you know, there's actually two different title holders involved here, all in the Dalen family. But you have the co-executors of the estate, as well as the Dalens as well. So with that, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, turn it over to the mayor and the council for discussion.
Okay. No, we met in smaller sessions too. Any questions thus far?
No, but I think I would just make a comment. I think this conditional rezoning agreement, I think, has been negotiated in good faith from my perspective. We started out, I think, far apart. I think we came to an agreement that I think works with people. Is it ideal for either party? No. Does it take into account both economic development, the environment, and people? I think it does a pretty good job and sets a precedence that if we're gonna rezone, we're gonna do it in a way that mitigates the risk, right? So I appreciate the riparian buffer within the plan. So I guess as I look at this, I guess I want to put that out there. You know, it helped what Paul Johnson had said about it. That definitely gave me a boost before he passed. And I do think that ultimately we don't own this land, you know, and I think that the idea of how do we guide without directing is something that we worked with and it came to fruition. And that's a win, I think, for doing business a little bit differently than it's been done in the past. And I'll take those kind of wins when we can get them. So.
Thank you.
And excuse me, one other thing I will mention, just to remind you, the conditional rezoning agreement does mention the right of first refusal that was talked about back in February. It was overlooked for this agenda, so that will be on the next council agenda. And I don't see an issue with that because the ordinance takes 3 readings anyways, if you were to approve it, but I just remind you of that.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
No,
I
and the
mean,
other thing I would add, which I don't hasn't come up today, but I think it's important for folks in the audience who are concerned about this. Any site plan, we now have a stormwater ordinance put in place in Decorah, and so there isn't, they can't build whatever they want to, and they can't cover the area with asphalt. They have to, whatever is developed there, will be required to follow our stormwater ordinance and keep site on water, or keep water on site. Just another, I think, important consideration the council made in thinking about this agreement.
Thank you. So we're looking for consider resolution 3174.
I'd move for approval of resolution 3164.
Second.
A motion made by Chisel, seconded by Carlson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something, Mayor. Thank you. I just wanted to thank Tim and Ardith and Dennis for coming and speaking. I wanted to thank all the concerned residents of Freeport and Decorah and the surrounding community who've passionately reached out to me, and I'm sure other members of the council, about this potential rezoning. I just want to assure Tim and Ardith and those that they represent that we did strongly consider the flooding implications and the environmental implications of this rezoning. When I was weighing this in my own mind and when I was considering how to vote, for me, I really resent, and I don't think it's healthy for the city to frame these things as a choice between protecting the environment or promoting our economic growth. I feel like smart environmental protection is good for the economy, and things that are good for the economy put Decorah in a stronger position to protect the natural assets that we have. And so I really look for solutions that I feel can accomplish both aims without completely surrendering the basic values of one or the other. We worked hard at finding a solution that we thought would effectively pay the environmental costs that this potential rezoning will incur. I take faith in the same study that you listened to several times, Ardith, which talked about how minuscule the effects of this additional fill will be for the average flood level in Freeport. And I took those things, to heart, but I also think that as Emily said, I want to echo, there are more opportunities as we go forward in this process to ensure that any site plan is sensitive and thoughtful about how we require floodwater and rainwater to be managed on site. So I'm glad we got to this position. I don't feel great about voting yes, but I think it's in Decorah's best interests, and I think it sets a good precedent for protecting our valuable floodplain and our valuable rivershed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chisel.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Sittergren.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Consider ordinance 1264, approving a request for rezoning of property. Alan Dalen and Helen Wise, executors of the estate of Arnold G. Dalen and Alan J. Dalen and Patricia J. Dalen, for land along Old Stage Road and in section 14, section 23, township 98 north, range 8 west of the 5th PM, all within the city of Decorah, Winneshiek, Iowa, parcels from F1 floodplain to C4 shopping center commercial. And this is an ordinance change, so this will be the first reading.
Okay, so these are the factors for rezoning request pursuant to ICA section 414.3. And these were discussed with P&Z during this process. Okay, is it in accordance with the comprehensive plan? Is it designed to preserve the availability of agricultural land? Is there protection of soil from wind and water erosion? Does it encourage efficient urban development patterns? Does it lessen congestion in the street? Does it secure safety from fire, flood, panic, or other dangers? Promote health and the general welfare? provide adequate light and air, prevent the overcrowding of land, avoid undue concentration of population, promote the conservation of energy resources, promote reasonable access to solar energy, facilitate the adequate provision of transportation, water, sewerage, schools, parks, and other public requirements, reasonable consideration, among other things, as to the character of the area of the district and the peculiar suitability of such area for particular uses, with a view to conserving the value of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of land throughout such city, and with consideration of smart planning principles under section 18B.1 and 18B.2 subsection 2. And I can read through the smart planning principles if you want, but those are the factors
Okay,
that were discussed with P and Z. And so if anyone wants me to go back over one or two of those or discuss those, I'd be happy to.
okay. So the consideration is for ordinance 1264, approving the rezoning of property as I've read previously.
I'd move to approve the first reading of ordinance 1264.
Second.
Motion made by Johnson, seconded by Carlson. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I've been practicing ventriloquism.
I love it. Could I count it up to hay fever drugs, maybe? No, I can't because it goes year round, doesn't it, Randy? Okay, the motion was made by Randy and seconded by Carlson. Any further discussion?
Last time that we were considering this, was it back in February? I don't know. It's been a while. I know that it seemed at least very important to Chad that we go on record or, sort of talk about how those smart guiding principles were being adhered to at this rezoning. Is that accurate?
Yes, it would be good to have on the record. In each one of these 16, some of them might not apply, but I would encourage you as you're discussing it, either in favor or against, it would be useful if you could refer to these principles. You can take into consideration other things, and the smart planning principles are in Dropbox. And I also would make reference to the February 15th Dropbox. But that would be helpful to establish the record of that you took into consideration the applicable standards set forth in the Iowa Code.
Thank you.
I want to say that I recall that in the February meeting, Ross had done a very nice job of spelling out his sense that this potential rezoning had many things that seemed to be appropriate for the smart planning guidelines. And I was hoping he still had access to some of those to share with us. But I thought that he'd done such a nice job of that. I don't know if we need to reinvent the wheel. Putting you on the spot, Councilman Hadley.
February note.
I will just say that I don't have my notes in front of me, but when we did the work on the Stormwater Ordinance, this property was first and foremost, at least in my mind. The riparian buffer, honestly, to me, helps slow water, but it improves watershed quality. It's not so much about flooding protection. The Stormwater Ordinance, though, really does do a good job of helping guide sustainable development. Also, our work on the Sustainability Commission made sure that those metrics aligned. And I think that the balance that we've struck with the Dalens regarding responsible agriculture, because this riparian buffer will also help some nitrate absorption potentially. and is just good agricultural practices. We also have looked into site plan work more, and with the Soul Smart ordinance that we passed, we're encouraging solar wherever we can. So between the work that we've done since the time that this first came up years ago to rezone, and now I believe the homework has been done to have it be a sustainable or responsible vote.
Thanks, Ross. Any further discussion?
I'm just, I'm going back to February. As you recall, Randy made a motion to approve this. I seconded it, and it became pretty clear that there wasn't enough support for it to pass, so we withdrew our motion. And I think that was a good thing. It was a good thing to not have a negative vote, and also not to have to start anything over. And I'm grateful to those council people who took it upon themselves after that to negotiate in good faith with the landowner, the developer, and I think you did come up with a very reasonable plan and a good compromise. So thanks to all of you who did that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other?
I just, some obvious things in terms of how this comports with smart planning principles. It clearly, I think, is a developmentally appropriate use that is, it's surrounded by other heavy commercial uses. And so it seems appropriate for the community character and the surrounding land use. I think that certainly, as part of their site plan, I'm hopeful that any potential development would take advantage of the abundant solar present there. And I also, know that one of the smart planning principles that we're obviously not talking about is preserving agricultural land. But as we are sort of discerning this, this is agricultural land right along a vulnerable river. And honestly, row cropping is just one step below cementing the whole thing over in terms of protecting the river from quick flood off and flood events. I know that if this development proceeds, because our site plan will require it, we will have a much better flood runoff outcome than is currently the case, because of how the Dalens are farming it. And that's just how farming works right now. But I think that as I'm balancing the sort of sustainability and watershed protection versus the ideal of preserving agricultural use for the land, both within and outside of town, it seems to me that on balance, this is a good move.
Thank you. Roll call?
Chisel.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Sittergren.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
First reading has passed. Consider ordinance 1277, approving amending chapter 1504 C3 design criteria, sign permit approval process. This is the second reading of this. On behalf of that, do you want to just give a little background on that?
Okay, so you passed the first reading of this at the last meeting, and this is basically allows the zoning administrator to approve signs administratively, just like in every other zoning district. P&Z voted unanimously to approve this. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was their suggestion that we do this and move forward with it. So now it's on the agenda for the second reading.
Okay,
I'd move for approval of ordinance 1277, second reading.
I'll second.
moved by Randy, seconded by Neil. Any further discussion?
Have we received any comments at City Hall?
No.
Thank you.
Hearing none, roll call.
Chisel.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Sittergren.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. That's a second reading.
I would move to waive the third reading and adopt.
Zittergren seconds.
Randy waived, moved to waive the third and adopt, seconded by Steve Zittergren. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chisholm,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Okay, city manager, department head, and council reports. City manager?
Okay, just one brief thing. I think you all noticed we didn't have any claims. Of course, this is our year end, and so historically, there's so much going on right now that we, don't have time to prepare claims for this meeting. We did have to pay some at the end of last week, but you'll see those at your next meeting, and we will probably have to pay bills before we meet again, because we
Okay.
really can't wait that long. But anyway, you'll see those all next time. But
And all the departments had to have their items in by what, like June 23rd or
June
something?
23rd, that was the last date we paid anything. Of course, your meeting was the 21st. So there
That's
weren't
right,
too terrible many,
yeah.
but there were just a few. And of course, there's always a few at the end of the month that are like cleanup bill claims for the month that we have to do. So,
Okay. Anything else?
nope.
Okay, we'll go around the table. Means some people have reports, I know, on the Dropbox, but are there any comments that any of the council want to make? I mean, department heads?
Just wanted to let you know that we're gonna do the final stretch on the wall in Phelps Park along Park Street. So there'll be some short detours probably over the next 3-4 weeks for short periods of time as cement gets poured and materials get dropped off. So letting you know.
Anybody else?
I guess that's the most important thing going on in the city.
Well, I would say so. Okay, very good. All right, Randy Chisholm,
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Emily Neal,
Nothing this evening. Thanks, Mayor.
Andy
Nothing at this
Carlson,
time, Mayor.
Steve Zittergren.
I'll just say that I want to thank the folks who organized the Pulpit to Pulpit 5K. It was a nice community event. I know that I saw a couple other council people there, and I saw the mayor supporting the race. And it's just, July is a busy month in Decorah. We probably don't need more to do on the 4th of July weekend, but it was nice to have something to do. So it was great.
Thank you. Kurt?
Nothing, Mayor.
Ross Headley,
Nothing, Mayor.
Steve Luce,
Yes, there's a SMID meeting in the morning. That'll be happening. And something about the end of this week, there's an opportunity to discern wisely for the future of Decorah. So
very
I
much so.
think we'll all take that as a special opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know if Mayor, you were going to announce that.
I'll
Otherwise, I
announce
was
it.
going to.
I'll announce it.
Okay. And
Thank you,
Steve,
Steve.
had I been in town, I would have raced you, just to be clear.
Yes.
I did too. Yeah.
Yes, actually, I want to invite the public to come and meet the 4 candidates that we will be working with on Friday afternoon and Saturday for the replacement for city manager. It'll be from 5 to 7 at the Hotel Winneshiek in the lobby. I encourage you to come out, talk with them, check to see the candidates that we have. We feel we have good candidates. We have a lot of interest in the position, but it'd be great to have people coming out and visiting with them in person so they all have an idea about what a great community that we have. I think that's all that I have.
I would move to adjourn.
We move to adjourn. We'll be adjourning and it'll be following about maybe 5 minutes with Personnel Committee meeting. Thank you very much.